So first things first, I want to thank y'all for coming out, taking y'all's time out. Y'all's beautiful Saturday. Actually, it's not really beautiful. It's kind of mucky outside, but appreciate y'all for showing up. We're gonna cover a few different topics today. We kind of make it informal. Could have made it a little bit more formal, but we're just gonna work with what we got. So basically, I'm gonna hit some points, and feel free to hop in and ask any questions at any time. I'm very open, I'm very transparent. My name is Ardran Carr. I work for the United States Military Academy at West Point. I'm a mental performance coach. I have a counseling background. Mental health is my thing. So I pretty much just work with a lot of different populations. I worked with sex offenders. I worked with people that are dealing with anxiety, depression, suicide, you name it. I've touched those populations. I like to be sporadic with who I work with because I just want to be able to evolve and relate to people from different walks of life. I'm not really like throwing my eggs in one basket, so I'm really open to anything. So starting out, I kind of just want to do like a short story just to kind of get it mixing, get it going. So starting out, there's two people in this life. You have Rolls-Royce and you have Honda Civic. Rolls-Royce is very process-driven. He enjoys the journey. He takes his time when completing things. He knows his value, and he has a lot of detail that's been put into him. Rolls-Royce has a lot of exquisite details to him. He also drinks from supreme gasoline in order to perform to his best of abilities. Rolls-Royce is very rare. There's only like 5,000 that are created each year. If you know Rolls-Royces, they only make like 5,000 a year, so they're very rare. Then you have Honda Civic. Honda Civic, he gets you from point A to point B. He's a very reliable man. He's a very reliable person. He doesn't have the bells and whistles that Rolls-Royce has, but he gets you from point A to point B. Some people would say Honda Civic is basic, depending on which one you get. He's not as exclusive as Rolls-Royce, but he's very much still in use. There's actually a lot of Honda Civic. So Honda Civic is very diverse in a way. Like there's a lot of them. They make over 100,000 a year. He's not as rare as Rolls-Royce. So Honda Civic and Rolls-Royce become really good friends, and they hang out maybe once or twice a week. And then Rolls-Royce soon to quickly notice that he's losing his identity. He starts drinking unleaded gasoline and sometimes ethanol. And Rolls-Royce over time realizes that he's losing his full potential by hanging around Honda Civic. So in these conversations, we always talk about how iron sharpens iron, right? But in this situation, it's like wood is sharpening iron. So basically, a takeaway principle that I want you to get from this story is to surround yourself around people that are going to help you grow, know your worth, and also have high self-esteem and self-efficacy going into those environments. Like know who you are when you walk in a room. Don't hinder your performance, because Rolls-Royce was hindering his performance by doing what Honda Civic was doing. And if anybody knows cars, you got to put the right gas in to get the full performance. So I just throw a rhetorical question out there. Which one are you? Are you a Rolls-Royce minded person or are you a Honda Civic minded person? Are you hanging around Honda Civic people when you are Rolls-Royce, or are you a Honda Civic person hanging around Rolls-Royce people in order to get to the Rolls-Royce level? So it's kind of something just to think about, really just to put yourself in that mind. Really be a Rolls-Royce minded person, I feel like. Know your details, know how much time has been put into you, know how to really go forward in life and walk with purpose. And you don't have to always drive crazy like Honda Civics do. You can take life slow sometimes and really just cruise around, let people see who you are and your value. Today I'm focusing more on men's mental health. We got men in the room, so keep that focus. I'm a man, so I'm speaking from my perspective. So basically, the problems of this world that we see today are related to fallen men. How many of y'all agree?
I concur.
You agree? Yeah. So as a man, if you know your worth, it's our job to fix our mistakes, especially when we're responsible for them. And as you can see, like a lot of stuff that goes on in this world is because an irresponsible man was put in power, and then some things got shaken up, and he didn't know how to react. So my request is that a lot of fallen men should go to therapy, and I have statistical analysis to prove that. So in 2021, the CDC ran a study and said that 20% of the U.S. population received mental health treatment, 16.5% had taken prescription medication for their mental health needs, and 10% received counseling. So there's more people taking pills than there's more people actually taking counseling, which, if y'all know, counseling is just pretty much you're in the chair, one-on-one with the therapist, expressing all your feelings, being intimate. And then the 16.5% is actually just like going to the pharmacy and just taking a pill that's making them feel better. Women are more likely than men to have received any treatment for their mental health, any form of mental health treatment. That's like any form, whether it's prescribing drugs or going to counseling in general. mental health treatment has been used higher in white adults than any other race. In urban communities, you see that those who had received counseling or therapy decreased in percentage, while those who had taken medication increased. So I don't know if y'all noticed, but a lot of these statistics that that are being ran are ran in major cities. So think about like Chicago, think about New York, think about Houston, California. So just think about an urban community and how people are actually taking meds instead of like the really rich, wealthy white collar communities actually going to real counseling, and how that can be an effective change in how they move and function as a society. So one thing I came here to just let y'all know as men, it's okay to struggle. It's okay to have trauma. It's okay to have anxiety. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be real with yourself. I feel like as men, it's our job to fix communities. I read a research study by Malcolm Gladwell. It's called Tipping Point. And he stated that when the number of men in a community drops below 11%, the crime rate skyrockets. So if you think about it, if there's just 12% of men that live in a certain community, that crime rate could just like significantly like just drop. So it's something to really think about. When 11% of the crime rate skyrockets, when 11% of men is not in the community, it skyrockets. So we have to know the importance of men's mental health, and we just have to know the importance of just being a man in general in a community. It's not just how we're protecting our family, it's the whole community in general. How are we influencing our neighbor? How are we walking by example and leading by example? There's someone in here right now that's just trying to figure out life. There's someone in here that doesn't know why they're here. There's someone in here that needs help, and there's someone that's just in here and they know they're in the right place. So while doing what most of us are called to do, we're trying to fix the world, but where do we go when we try to fix ourselves? So I'm gonna throw that question out there. Where do y'all go to when y'all trying to fix yourselves?
Like the mirror, and I'll say like exercising.
Yep.
What am I eating junk food?
Mm-hmm.
Observing my vices. That sort of thing when it comes to fixing myself.
Yeah. It's kind of
seeing where I'm lacking control, or where I feel like I say I want to do this and I end up doing the opposite.
Being intentional in the moment, and also just trying to organize where your little counterpoints, like you said.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, I asked a question to you like that about 2-3 weeks ago, didn't I? I was on a driving up down south.
I think so.
I was like, you're out there doing everything. Who do you talk to when you get? I think it's something like
Yeah, who do you talk to? I don't have anybody to talk to really.
Yeah, I mean,
Just reflect myself.
I'll call that nigga sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll call one of these guys, maybe.
Kind of using.
I try to at least, you know.
Right.
But yeah, but a lot of times it's just in my own head. Like I'm sitting in the car and shit's boiling up, and I'm just like.
I notice when I have to go to do things. Like I have to get physical, but I have to do physical things where like I know I'm in control. And then I could start reflecting and thinking about stuff, talking to myself.
Controlling the controllables. That's key. You say you kind of just reach out to friends and try to calm yourself down in a quiet space.
Sometimes I try.
That's good. We'll talk about a little bit more of that in a second. One of the cool things about me being a psychotherapist, I work in the mental health space and I see like a lot of different people. Like I was telling him earlier, I see a lot of different crazy people. I see suicidal people, just all types of crazy things. So the things that we consider stupid in life are not so much like stupid to me because I see like on a daily basis. So I'm very like open and transparent when it comes to stupidity or just the way people react in life. So it's a judge-free zone. I'm imperfect myself. I have been through similar of what y'all been through, if not the same. So like I said, it's just an open space. So one of the main issues that I see with men in my space and just men in general that are battling a lot of mental health issues are three things. The first thing is pride. A lot of us walk with like a lot of sense of pride and it ends up hurting us in the long run. How many of y'all know people that, like, I don't need help, I'll do it myself, or put some dirt on it. I'm from the South. I'm from Texas, so we real big on put some dirt on it or strap on your bootstraps. So yeah, that's one thing that I see in a lot of my people, and it's something that needs to be fixed. Second thing I see is fear. A lot of people are just afraid to talk. Like, what happens to just really getting with a brother and just expressing your feelings? It's like we don't have that anymore, and it may be due to COVID or just do a lot of different things like that. People just not being able to just relate to one another. But I feel like that's a space that really needs to be vitalized. Some people be like, I don't want to look like a punk. I don't want to talk to that person about my feelings, or I don't want to cry in front of that man. Like, I ain't no punk. I feel like just the same way as a little kid we would treat like going to the dentist or doctor. That's how we treat mental health, and it needs to be fixed. Like it's something that people just really need to just go into the environment and just feel comfortable going into. And the third reason that I feel like a lot of men are struggling with mental health issues these days is unresolved pain. Something that happened in your childhood. Something that happened in your last relationship that bled over. Just walking around with wounds, not scars, open wounds. And you weren't able to actually heal properly. I was talking to one of my friends. I was like, "Are you angry?" And I was like, "Why don't you explain it?" He's like, "No, I don't feel like it." It's like, dang, that's unresolved pain. You don't even. I'm your brother, and you don't even want to talk to me. But yeah, how many of y'all feel like y'all let yesterday's problems affect today's problems or your future? Yeah. Yep. And that's a tough pill to swallow because it's like that happened yesterday. Like I can refresh now. This is my space to refresh, but in reality, it's kind of infiltrating the future, hindering it in a way. So just a little bit about myself. When I was in high school, I considered myself the nerdy hood athlete. I was like I was a scholar in certain areas. I'm not from the hood, but I have hood tendencies because of my family. And I was very athletic, successful in sports. So I had tendencies to do things, just outside of my will. And I also did things that I considered, disrespectful during that time. And looking back on it, at the age I'm at now, it's like that thing was stupid that I did. So I had this rule in high school where if somebody disrespected me, I slap them. Like, it's very simple. It's very simple. You disrespect me, you get slapped. But it was a dumb rule. And so, yeah, one of my best friends, he disrespected me. Like, in the locker room, we were just talking. He said something out of my mom's name or whatever. He talked about my mom or whatever. So I slapped him. And that was a dumb move because, in reality, we could just talk it out as men and move forward with that. But, we're young and dumb and we make mistakes like that. So we both ended up having to do extra punishment at the practice and ended up paying us in the end. Like, we had to do extra work at the end. So moving forward, like, men experience hidden pain and it hurts. Like, in that moment, that's my best friend. But when he said that trigger word, it, hurt me. So, I mean, a lot of women experience pain too, but I feel like with men, it's a little bit tougher because we don't show it transparently. A lot of women are very emotional and they're able to display their emotions, openly, sometimes on the fly. But whenever you ball something up inside, it's almost tearing you apart. And I actually read a research study one time. They said holding back a cry is equivalent to getting physically hurt. Like somebody actually physically punching you in the face or in the stomach, that's equivalent to holding back a cry. That was a recent study too. It was 2018. I forget the name, but I can find it. As men, we have a selfish problem. That's another thing. Whenever you're up in life, you look down on your peers and you judge your friends who are down. Like, that's something that I've noticed a lot of people in my space too. People be like, "Oh, I got mine. Like, when you gonna get yours?" Like, dang, bro, are you gonna help me get mine too? So a lot of that goes back to the pride aspect. We get up in life really good, and then we look at our peers like, "Oh, I made mine already. When you gonna get yours?" Like, in reality, we should be fruitful and just sharing with one another, each other's knowledge and stuff like that, and just sharpening each other because we're iron. We're sharpening each other. Sometimes we have to look in the mirror and really solve our own problems as men. When you're the helper, you don't like asking for help, so we suffer in silence. And I don't know if y'all read about John Wall's story. John Wall, the Washington Wizards guard, old Washington Wizards guard. I think he plays for the Houston Rockets now. But he was suffering in silence for many years, and he almost committed suicide. And his quote that he used before committing suicide or moving into that transition, that's a takeaway point for articles that are being written right now, was he looked in the mirror and he said, "Man, I just need some effing help." You know what I mean? Like, "Yo, I need some help." And when he told himself that, he was able to reach out to people and call and get the proper treatment to move forward without actually following through with the suicide. So some of us just need to look in the mirror and just say we need help, honestly, and just pick up the phone and just call people, just making that transaction to move forward and get the ball rolling. Because once you get the ball rolling, it's kind of like a snowball. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, especially if you're trying to work towards a big goal of alleviating that pain and getting rid of all that. You gotta put the work in, because it's one thing to try to manifest something or have faith in something and not put the work in, because then that's just lazy. So if faith without action is nothing. You're not gonna get anything. So moving forward with that, there are 3 things I wanted to leave y'all with that I encourage my clients and just men in general to debunk the stigma of mental health and become more action oriented as far as moving forward with the process. So the first one I have is just very simple. Is get up. So there comes a time in life where you feel like you're paralyzed and you're in bondage from whatever you're going through, whether it's pain or you went through a breakup or divorce or you lost your job, you're in a financial situation that's not really stable. You got to get up to get the ball rolling and just stand up and just attack what's holding you back. I read another study, I think it was 2017. I forget the authors right now off the top of my head. But it said pressure and stress was a good thing to go through. And when I'm reading that, I'm like, why would somebody want to be putting pressure and stress? Like that's not something I don't want to be in. Like I want to have a peaceful life. So I want to get y'all's feedback. What do y'all think about pressure and stress? Like before I get into the statistical part.
I think there's a lack of the conversation on how stress and pressure is beneficial to one's existence.
Right.
I think a lot of us, or there's a portion of us that demonize or like, because it don't physically feel good or like pleasing,
right on,
immediate in an instant, that we kind of like stray away from it. But there is satisfaction in the process of pressure and stress after the fact.
Right. Like being intentional about it, sometimes befriending it, and then also placing it somewhere else for a beneficial cause.
Right. Like
yeah.
Working out is like a very simple example of how pressure and stress can benefit you.
You're putting your body through a lot of pressure and stress in order to build bigger muscle.
Yeah, and you feel good after working out.
100%.
I feel pressure and stress builds a bigger toolbox for us. It builds a bigger picture because some of us perform at our best under stress and pressure. We just don't realize it until after the work is done. That, oh man, if I would have planned earlier, I wouldn't have been distressed.
Yep.
But if I didn't go through the stress, I wouldn't know if I could do it or not. You know what I mean? So I think stress and pressure is a great benefit to us as building us as a better man and get things done.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's pretty much the gist.
Yeah, it's like molding you to become something that you never thought you'd become, because it shows your true colors in that time. Yep. Good.
I feel like with pressure and stress, I feel like due to the nature of how like my life went or how I was raised, I feel like it's something I've become reliant on, almost addicted to, and I feel like it's part of what allowed me to prove that I can be what I am today. But I also feel like there's a point where it becomes imbalanced and it won't be sustainable. I don't know what that point is, because I keep when the pressure surmounts, I keep hopping over it,
right?
And I get the adrenaline from it, and I'm like, well, something else happened. But what happens when I can't hop over the next? I don't know what happens. I haven't had that too many times, and I feel like it's crucial, but I feel like it's like, I don't know, it's like toxic at the same time. I don't know.
You found, it sounds like you found like a sense of joy in stress and pressure because there's a greater end to it.
Right, I feel like there's a reward to it.
Right.
It's just like, I don't know if that came from good means or bad means. I don't know what's the outcome of that. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard the phrase, pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
Like, just think about it. Like, that whole process to how diamond even becomes like a diamond, like, it had to go through like a lot of stress and pressure. And even think about like popcorn kernels. Like, kernel is a little seed and it's being heated up by the microwaves and it turns into something beautiful that we eat. It's simple, it's crazy. The stress we build up, basically the study said that the stress we build up, it becomes comfortable, and then sometimes we get real comfortable without stress, and then we don't move. So people that don't have any stress or any pressure, they just stay in the same place, getting complacent. So basically, in high stressful situations, we freak out sometimes, which kind of relates to what you're talking about. Some people respond differently when they freak out. They're like, oh my gosh, like this is too much for me. And that's when you see people resort to drugs, alcohol, sex addiction, or just anything that's like not a good coping mechanism to move forward out of that. So the biggest thing is not to get stuck in that, because that's when you get led to anxiety, depression. It's like a long continuity of it, because a lot of people think like, oh, I have anxiety because I feel this in the moment, but my DSM book or my knowledge and my expertise tells me that anxiety and depression is actually something that happens over like a prolonged period, like months and months and months, not just a day, because that's just an emotion and it's going to pass away. We use the phrase, this too shall pass. So the best stresses to have is neutral stress or medium stress, what people would say, because you have to move, and if you feel that feeling that it's going to get any worse, then you're going to fall into like a dark hole and you're going to get stuck. So the healthy stress is just neutral stress. But like you said, press is gonna go up and down sometimes, and it just depends on how you respond during those times. Our fear as men of staying the same has to be greater than fear change. Yep. So we always have to be cognizant of that. Like, I'll repeat it again. Our fear of staying the same has to be greater than fear change. Like, we have to be willing to change and stuff like that, and able to grow. Number 2 is what we have going on right now. Group up. As men, we need to group up. How many of y'all have like 3 or 4 friends that you can really name that's going to help carry you through a storm? That's solid. Yeah, because like I feel like the more isolated we are, the more it's just like darkness comes in, and then we're not able to function to who we truly are. And I feel like when you have a community, especially a man community, a very strong men community, is going to help us get through that storm. It always takes a team, and there's power in numbers. One of my examples I always use is the civil rights movement. Like, it's power in numbers. Like, those people in the front lines, they all grouped up, everybody grouped up, and they made things happen. They shook up that foundation like crazy. How do you test somebody's pride? Going back to pride. You can so to test somebody's pride, you can really tell one of your homeboys right now to pick up the phone and tell them that you need help. And majority of the time, some people be like, nah, like, I ain't gonna do it. Like, I don't need it. And it's like, why not? Like, why don't you do it right now? That's really how you test somebody's pride, because if they're not willing to ask for help, then they think that they're willing, that like they have enough power to help themselves to get through something. But in reality, that's not always the case. You always got to hone up on somebody else or lean up on somebody else to get what you're trying to get. I personally found out I couldn't fix my own problems. I feel like we're not designed to fix our own problems on this earth. So I encourage men just to keep it simple and just keep it real. Just keep it honest. Be honest with yourself. Don't make life too hard. We weren't designed this way to make it this hard. How many of y'all know I'm a good person? Like, I'm good. Like, it's like, oh, like, you and your wife just divorced. Oh, I'm good. Or like, oh, the stock market just crashed. How you feeling? I'm good. How many of y'all know I'm good people? Yeah? Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. And just be honest, man. Aloneness and isolation breeds darkness through trial, which we just talked about. That's the breeding grounds for that. Like, you being isolated and alone. Sometimes aloneness is good, just to step away, just to, get your thoughts collected. But persistently being in aloneness is going to make you think some crazy dark thoughts. Number 3, grow up. Know thyself. That's one we use in counseling. If you were the enemy, where would you attack you? Think about that sometime. Put yourself in the enemy's shoes. Where would you attack you? Where are your weak points? Stop being afraid of pain. We spend precious time and precious days trying to hide from pain. Pain kills our drive. There's been days, me personally, where I felt pain and my whole day just got ruined. Like, I had family in town. I had like my cousins in town. They ready to splurge on me, do this, whoop-de-whoop. And I felt that pain from whatever happened. And then I'm just like, yo, I'm good. Like, you're like, are you cool? Like, we're here in town. I'm good. That's precious time you could have spent with your family or enjoyed their fruit or whatever they had to offer for you. And then we just let that pain just ruin the whole entire day. We have to move past that. So there's a method that I use in counseling. It's called the 4 Ds to pain. How to kind of get through it and how to kind of recognize how to, like, which point you're at. And that way it's kind of like you can trace your steps back. So the first D I got is called declare. So you have to declare your breakthrough. Declare what you want to get out of. You talked about the gym earlier, right? So before you even go to the gym, what do you declare?
Yesterday I was like, I think I'm gonna go to the gym today.
Yeah.
And then I woke up. At the time, I thought I was gonna wake up and I went to the gym.
Right, but initially, when somebody's like, "Yo, I'm finna go to the gym," like in like a New Year's Eve type of deal, they're declaring a bigger body, a nicer body. That's the declaration. So that's the declaration part. Like, declare where you want to be with your pain and how to get through it. And then the second D is distress. So a lot of us stop here in distress, which we kind of talked about, was the pain and like the suffering part. A lot of people stop because it's like too much for them. They're like, yo, I'm not going to the gym no more. Like, it requires too much of my time. Like, I caught a Charlie horse. Like, I was sweating too much. Like I'm not doing that ever again. But this is really, like, distress is really the point where your character comes in and it shows your will and drive, how you want to proceed forward. Same thing with money. Puffy and Biggie Smalls made a song called More Money, More Problems. So the more money you get, the more money you have to spend on certain things like taxes. You just have to care for a lot of different things when you get more money. So technically, you're putting your financials through distress. Like you declare to have more money, then you also have to declare to also put your money in different places too. When it always comes gain, it always comes distress. You can't grow unless you go through some pain. Just think about when you're growing up as a kid. Like we had growing pains in our knees. Like you literally growing taller, your muscles are growing. That was a painful process. You can't get a bigger body in the gym unless you put your body through pain. Breaking down those muscle fibers, rebuilding them up. It's impossible. You can't go to the gym and demand a bigger body unless you literally put your body through distress. So right now we're on development. There's no such thing as getting over something. You have to go through it. You know, some people be like, oh, like I gotta get over this. I gotta get over this. I gotta get over this. No, you have to go through it to experience it and then figure out healthier ways to move forward. You can't get over something. I don't know if you remember Stevie Wonder made a song called Skeletons in the Closet. Itching to come outside, they're gonna haunt you. So you can't sweep stuff under the rug and expect it to be clean because one day the rug's gonna get lifted and it's gonna be dirt underneath it. So go through stuff, experience it, feel that pain, actually, digest it, and then move forward from it, find healthier ways to move forward. And then same thing with the gym analogy, you have to develop new muscle. Or after you develop new muscle, you have to be able to apply it in other places to keep it growing. And the fourth one I have is demonstrate. So demonstrate the things that you declare, putting it into action, show people what you are working with, and share your testimony with others, help others. And as men, we have to not only help others, but carry others sometimes. The demonstration part is what a lot of people lack also because I feel like they get to the development part, but they don't also put like what they gain into action. It's like, yeah, you went to the gym and got a bigger body, but now what are you going to do? Are you going to teach people how to get a bigger body also, or are you just be selfish for yourself? But I encourage my clients that are male to always, when they get through a painful situation, share their testimony with their brothers because you probably have a homeboy going through the same thing you're going through. And it can be something to really learn from and grow from together as a community. So, and then one thing about being a psychotherapist is on my worst days, when I help somebody, I feel better. And some of us are stuck because we say as soon as we fix somebody that I'm going to fix you, but how can I fix somebody if I can't even fix myself? So yeah, I think of it that way too. Like we're over here trying to fix different people, fix different things, fix different situations, but we gotta look in the mirror and actually fix ourselves too. Like we keep forgetting about ourselves, and in some of those moments we have to be selfish because a lot of people are demanding what we want or trying to figure out different ways to use us in different scenarios. But you might have to be selfish in certain scenarios, but to each his own. So as I'm getting closer to the end, I kind of want to share like a short story. So basically there was this dog. He was a perfect dog. He was nice looking. He went to the other side of the track where he saw other dogs and he said, "Follow me." There's all kinds of bones, milk, water, honey across the tracks. And the dog took off and none of the other dogs followed. So he came back a second day with a bone in his mouth and he said, "Trust me, there's other bones across the tracks." And he took off, but none of the other dogs followed. The third time he came back to get the other dogs to follow, he sat down on the tracks and he sat on a nail. When he sat on the nail, the dog began to chase his tail, trying to remove the nail, embarrassed. So the dog took off and the other dogs crossed the track and followed him. The dog hid behind a dumpster and moments later he heard the other dogs coming and they found him. And the dog said, "How did you find me?" They said, "We found you because we followed the blood. Now, you said there was bones, milk, and honey and everything else here. Where is it?" And the dog said, "Why did you follow me now?" And they said, "We didn't follow you before because we thought you were a perfect dog, and all that stuff was for you. But now that we're able to recognize that you're an imperfect man, and we saw that you hurt the same way we hurt, we crossed the tracks and decided to follow you." So one thing I want you to take away from this story is that we're not here to be perfect. We're here to let people know that we're hurt and that we're able to grow and get through it. So